one thing that came out is just because AI can do something doesn't mean that it makes sense to use it for that. It may not be effective or useful. There's the word that he
Hmm.
used. Doesn't make it useful. So there's a lot of things that kind of seem like it's just too much, and it's like, well, I don't really want AI doing XYZ task right now. So it's like finding the sweet spots on what makes sense for you to kind of get into it and start leveraging it, understand the process behind it,
Hmm.
see how it works, and then know that, especially right now, there's still a lot of human oversight. There's still a lot of things that we're going to want to do. It's just a matter of, is there a few things that are kind of lower level, lower risk type things that we can pull off the calendar and start to use. I think that's the best place to start, especially if there's a little bit of apprehension.
Well, hello, Business Spotlight family. It is Tanner and I today here to talk about a really fun topic. We're diving into harnessing the power of AI for business growth.
Ah, yes, that's a fun topic. I know that there's many kind of in the group that have asked some questions around AI and just kind of getting some ideas and lots of information out there. So excited to kind of jump into this one.
Definitely. I'd like to dive right into what are your initial thoughts about AI? Or like we hear everything under the sun from, I mean, there's robots to you know, talking computers, whatever it is. But how do you feel about AI, Tanner?
I'm fairly excited about it. I know that there's a lot yet to be uncovered, and it's a technology that's moving at such a rapid rate. But I think there's a lot of really cool things that can help with business, that can help with marketing and sales, and just kind of how we fine tune some of our operations and things like that. So I'm personally really excited about it. I think
Mhm.
there's just like anything else that's newer, it's going to take a lot of learning and growth as like an individual to know the most effective ways to use it, like where to plug it in, where there's still going to need to be some human oversight and that sort of thing. But what I've seen and experienced along the way has been pretty cool to see. So I'm excited.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I've utilized it quite a bit in just my businesses, even in the work we're doing now. I've used it to help me with writing show descriptions for our podcast and things like that. And so I feel like it's been a value add to me as well. And especially thinking about a lot of solopreneurs out there who don't have writers on their staff or they have to outsource. It's nice to just be able to tap into what it can do for you, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. What are some of your favorite ways to that use it? So you mentioned using it for kind of writing some descriptions for different podcasts, things like that. But what are some of the ways that you've used it, either in business and marketing, just even in personal life, things like that?
Oh, yeah, I'd love to dive in. So my primary one that I use is ChatGPT, kind of the OG. And I've used it in a multitude of ways, especially when it comes to Action Coach. Writing podcast descriptions for our YouTube channel, using it as kind of a jump off tool to help me formulate ideas around how to say something. You can also ask it to write in certain formats. So if you're like working on if you want it to be a podcast YouTube format, or if you want to write it in a editorial format, it works with you in what you want to do with it. So don't be scared to, you know, direct it. You can tell it, the more details the better. So that's one way. I've also used it just in my side hustle on my own personal business to help me write programs and help me write scripts. And, I think pairing it with my own writing skills helps me to catch a lot of things that I miss, just even grammarly, like type of ways, like in grammar. So those are a few ways I use it now. You could even just go ask it random stuff. I don't do much of that, but some people do. Kind of like you mess around with Siri or Google or whatever. You never know what you're going to get. So, I mean, people can use it in that way as well to have fun with it. But I think it's really can be highly valuable and help cut the production time in half, like even more. Like you can produce so much more faster with the power of ChatGPT.
Hmm. I love that. This is such a timely topic. I gotta applaud you for picking topics that are like super like on my mind at the moment. Literally yesterday, I had a conversation with a gentleman on the Business Spotlight who is in the AI space, and we were having a little bit of conversation about it, and it was kind of cool to get his perspective. He knows way more than I do, so once it comes out, everyone that's listening to this later on, make sure you go listen to that.
Mhm.
But because of that, it was over the last week or so, I've been shifting through what are some different ways that we can leverage some of this technology. And literally last night, I'm trying to finish off a blog post that I was writing. I had kind of written out the basics of it, but I wanted to get some updates and have it kind of refined a little bit. So I threw it into Chat GPT and actually was doing like back and forth, which I'm not very good at yet, but I'm starting to get into the process of actually using it like I'm talking to somebody. So it
Mhm.
was like, all right, this seems a little sophisticated. Let's bring down the reading level a little bit. Like, what would this look like if we brought it to a 10th grade reading level or a 12th grade reading level, and just kind of like see how that kind of changes some of the verbiage and how the format of the post was structured. And so I was using it for some of that, and then playing around with oh, what's the name of it? It's Microsoft's version, Copilot maybe. And
Mhm.
was kind of playing with that yesterday afternoon. Was like, all right, well, how can this help me, especially when it comes into kind of the business and productivity side of things? I'm like, well, I'm a heavy Excel user. Can it help me in Excel? And I asked it the question. It's like, yes, of course we can. It can help you understand how to connect different functions and some different pivot tables and looking up a whole bunch of different things with Excel. That if we can use AI to bring some of that knowledge forward, it saves me time from having to go learn the super nitty gritty of it and watch 10 different videos on how to do it so that I can figure it out myself. It's kind of that companion that speeds up that process, which is really cool.
Mhm.
And then one I'm really excited for that hopefully one day I'll get to really start leveraging more is calendar integration. So
Mm.
I was playing around this week actually with an app called Motion, which is you plug in all your different calendars and things like that, and then add tasks to it, and it automatically rearranges the tasks on your calendar based on like, did you get this actually completed? Where can this fit in? So it's a like live update, just like you would if you had like a true VA or something like that working with you. But all through this one app. I'm like, that is really cool application, and it's only really a few bucks a month to be able to have that technology. So it's like I'm starting to see the fringes of how this can really fit into kind of some productivity level sides of things to be able to manage
Mhm.
more projects and tasks and things like that. And then take away some of the heavier thinking work when it comes to refining and editing kind of different pieces of content or things like that.
Oh, yeah, I totally agree with you there, and it's fun to hear about that one. You said it was Motion or Notion?
Motion, so a lot like
Motion.
Notion, but it's a calendar, Motion.
Oh. Okay, I'm gonna have to check that out too, because like, yeah, the sky's the limit with this stuff. I've used it from everything from photo, even photo enhancing. Say you have a blurry photo and you need like headshots or you need something for your staff or your clients or something, you can digitally enhance the headshots or the photos of your clients or for your staff. And so that's been really cool to kind of I'm just touching the surface there. Um, and also kind of you mentioned one thing, you're like, "The topics that I chose, well, I had ChatGPT help me write our topics." So just to get real meta on us, like, I just had to take it a layer deeper.
Oh man, I
Um,
love that so much.
yeah,
Uh,
so I think a couple things like, I've noticed, like, people, maybe are feeling a bit apprehensive to try AI. Do you have any thoughts on maybe why that is and how to remedy those thoughts?
I mean, if this is total speculation, just like my own personal opinion on things, but I would venture to guess that with most things that are new and fast paced and has a level of unknown to it,
Mhm.
that in itself tends to create confusion, fear, apprehension in most humans just overall. I think AI to an extent has some of those capabilities to kind of bring that out in individuals. Sometimes it's just frankly I don't know how to use it effectively. Like I can go type some things into ChatGPT, but okay, great, but I'm not effectively using it, so why even try?
Mhm.
Because I do personally, I believe whenever there's there's new technologies, there's new things that are coming out that are becoming very prevalent, there's going to be a learning curve. There's going to be some time where we got to understand how to effectively use it. And even in my conversation yesterday, one thing that came out is just because AI can do something doesn't mean that it makes sense to use it for that. It may not be effective or useful. There's the word that he
Mhm.
used. Doesn't make it useful. So there's a lot of things that kind of seem like it's just too much, and it's like, well, I don't really want AI doing XYZ task right now. So it's like finding the sweet spots on what makes sense for you to kind of get into it and start leveraging it, understand the process behind it,
Mhm.
see how it works, and then know that especially right now, there's still a lot of human oversight. There's still a lot of things that we're going to want to do. It's just a matter of is there a few things that are kind of lower level, lower risk type things that we can pull off the calendar and start to use. And I think that's the best place to start, especially if there's a little bit of apprehension.
Oh, definitely. I completely agree with that. And, sometimes you can just go right into ChatGPT and say, what are the best ways to communicate with you? I haven't tried asking it that, but if somebody does, let me know what it says to you because it's very intuitive and it picks up on how you talk. It picks up on you. And I even know friends who have actually created their own model of it through it. I don't know how to do that, but I've had friends who have kind of like custom, you can like kind of program within it and build one out that you share with clients or, share within whatever you're working on. So, I'd say, yeah, like fears aside, go for it, give it a try. There's tutorials online. A friend of mine, Larry Red Hat, I gotta give Larry a shout out. He's a friend of mine from a podcast convention. I met him. He's actually out of Dallas, and he gave a presentation last year at this conference we were at, and he literally had it write and illustrate a children's book, and he gave it a theme, and it did it within this, he, had this hour to talk, and it created this very quickly, and he was able to show people right on the spot the capabilities of it. So, I would check him out too, Larry Red Hat, give him a shout out. He's the AI genius out in Dallas doing big things with AI and podcasting.
Oh, that's very cool. That actually reminds me of I was reading the Conversion Code 2.0 by Chris Smith a couple weeks ago now, and he's got a little snippet in there on like, do you use AI or do you have an internal salesperson? Like, how do you start using some of this within within business? And probably the thing that I'm maybe most excited for on kind of the sales and marketing side is actually the chatbot piece of it. It's
Mhm.
like the research is starting to show that more and more people are comfortable using an AI generated chatbot to have some conversation, but it's the speed, right? So if somebody's up at 3 a.m. and looking at your website and they want to jump on the chat, you can actually have integrated AI web chats that can answer a lot of the questions that they may have. You can actually feed it the 30 most commonly asked questions in your industry or for your business, and it can actually formulate responses based on that data. So you're training it, you're giving kind of the data of it so it can actually answer those questions and get back to people in, much faster than if
Mhm.
you had to wait till the office opened at 8:30 or 9 o'clock or something like that and then respond to them. That speed when it comes to capturing leads on online, things like that really matters. Like, well, that's a really cool application, relatively low risk at this point, especially if you can give it the material to go off of. But I thought that was kind of a neat thing to pick up on, especially when it comes to business application of some of these tools.
Oh, definitely. Those are some really insightful tips and tricks and just tools in this. And it's one of those things too. It's only going to get more intuitive and grow. And so it's fun to kind of get versed in it and like have fun with it. I always say to get together with a couple of coworkers or friends, do some co-working and maybe like share ideas, tips and tricks, or maybe someone has some knowledge in it. But yeah, it's one of those things that I think anybody can tap into it to some degree and get some value out of it. So, yeah, I'm on the vibe with AI.
Awesome. Well, I'd love to know for those that are watching this, throw in the chat. What are some of your favorite AI tools out there? What have you tried? What have you tested? What are some of the ones that you absolutely love and want to use regularly? What are some that you've tried and you're like, it wasn't for me? But love to kind of hear some of the thoughts on what you all have tried and tested in the world of AI.
Yeah, so that is great. I'm excited to hear from you too. And thank you so much, Tanner. This has been a great chat. And yeah, feel free, DM us, write us questions about AI. And yeah, excited to hear from you.